Something about opinions. Don't seek truth, just drop your opinion. I think that's what Nicholas read, something that resonated with me. Don't seek truth, just drop your opinion. Because your opinion always puts boundaries around someone. Truth is the opening up of that circle. And I want to put that on the board just so that it's something that we can begin to remember.
And also, too, Barb,
Markers right here, Ms. Palmer.
I'm sorry?
The marker?
I wanted a eraser.
and Barb, too, if somebody want it, they will ask you for it,
For
your opinion. So I've learned to keep
people
my
ask you
mouth
for it a
shut.
lot, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try the alcohol that's in the,
Where's the list?
Second.
either that one or the one below it.
Okay.
What's your point?
My point is the time to be quiet, is the time to talk, is the time for anything. That you have to know when to speak and when not to speak.
But I'm really not even just talking about that kind of opinion.
Okay,
I'm
well,
talking about the broader opinion of you already have in your mind a set way of thinking, and like most fundamentalists, they can tell you their version of what truth is. What we're saying is be open, that when you hear something, don't just jump to a conclusion. That's not the way I understand, kind of thing. Be open, just be open and let it flow through. If it resonates, you'll think about it again. If it doesn't, it'll just flow on through.
well, isn't that about the same, or it works hand in hand? I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I'm just asking because I don't know.
and when I talk about opinions and day-to-day opinions, I'm talking about you know, in your work environment. How do I do this and blah blah blah? I mean, I'm talking about from a spiritual perspective, and that will drive the answers that you provide on a day-to-day basis about living and working with people who ask you something. How do I do this? What's the best way for me to handle this? And even people ask you your personal issues and ask your opinion on certain things too.
Okay.
So what I'm saying about drop the truth, don't seek truth, just drop your opinion is what makes it. Yeah, other comments while I'm writing this?
So Ms. Emery, yes, essentially what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to already to be open so that you can be a teacher, or you can communicate more so being on that the same vibration or aligned with the universe by not holding opinions and your own personal things that you might already have with you. And all of us have them, and we have brought them from our past and how we were raised, etc.
Okay. Okie dokie.
I was kind of like saying more so, be like an open book and allow the energy to flow through us. Sense.
And that's part of what Richard was saying. Don't try to capture it. Don't try to bottle it up. Don't try to, when you do that, you try to put your own boundaries around
Or
it.
it just happens.
Just let it be. That's what you mean by flowing on through. Let it be what it is, what it will be. I'm trying to find the other part of the album about nothing is ever separate. Okay. I wanna, if nothing else, that's separate, y'all. The word separate.
Thank you, therapy.
I want to remind us about what the Aramaic and much of what Jesus spoke related to some of the Semitic languages, and Aramaic is one of them. And it's a language that doesn't put barriers around stuff. It's a language that when we go through this first verse of Proverbs, I have one interpretation, but when I go back and research, I'll probably have a different one. It unfolds like that. When you go back and research, you will probably see it a different way. That doesn't make it wrong or right. That means then that the essence of the verse is so deep. The wisdom in the verse is so deep that there are different ways that it unfolds. And we can't, in Western society, wrap our mind around it because we want to just put the one definition and box it up and say, I found it. This is what it is. Not necessarily, not so. I don't take the necessarily out. Not so. Does that resonate?
Yes.
So that can also explain why when Jesus spoke to the 5,000, everybody heard and everybody understood. They may not have heard the words that he heard, that he used, were Aramaic, but they had different underlying reasons that spoke to the essence of the people hearing. And so I heard what I needed to hear. You heard what you needed to hear. What resonated with us was what we needed based on the wave particle we were on. We are on. So let's just use an example. The word hot. It means lots of things to different people, right, Evelyn?
Yes.
And to a mom with a young toddler, it means, or to people who live in Arizona, hot, what's that? Because they do it every day. But in the Aramaic, if you use that word in the context of something else, it resonates based on what is resonating within you. And so that doesn't make it wrong the way you interpret it. It speaks to what you need it to speak to at the time. Mm-hmm. It speaks to the now in you. And I'm going to say that more and more, the now, the now, the now, the now. Because now is all we got. We thought we had a yesterday, and we think we're going to have a tomorrow. In the Aramaic, there is no boundary of time. Now is eternity. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about eternity is knowing God. And knowing God is understanding that I am she, he, and he is me. So now is always unfolding. Decisions we make today relate to if, in fact, we put that physical barrier of a clock and says it's going to be in 20 minutes, another day. Decisions we make today can impact that, but when I wake up tomorrow, all I have is that now. Or if I don't go to sleep, all I have is that now. Does that
Yes.
resonate? Okay. So, part of the Aramaic is that there are no barriers. Everything is interconnected. And the other part of it is they lived what they believed. They lived. It was a way of life. It wasn't like setting aside some time to go to church on Sunday and then going back to your day-to-day routines on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The belief and the essence of who they were related to the Creator permeated everything they did, whether quote-unquote awake or asleep. Somebody respond to that. Let me get this page. Sorry about that, but that's what I was going to call.
Repeat it, please. The last part you just said.
She stepped out.
She's
What did she
gone.
say?
Just tell us what you got.
None of us were listening.
And this is the last part.
Yeah.
Somebody tell it.
Apparently he heard what he needed.
Well, I was actually looking at the verses she just mentioned about, that's from John 17:3, about the now and it being eternal. And then from the literal translation, it actually translate, this is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. So I was looking at that, and so that's why I missed the other part.
Yeah, I do that. That's fine. Thank you, I appreciate it. So where were we?
Ms. Ball, repeat the last thing you just said before you stepped out, please?
Oh, I think I said, we're talking about nounness, or whatever, that's not a word, but it can be a word if I make it a word. It's a word for me, nounness.
Anything can be created is a word.
and I was just saying that whatever happens in this nounness, even if I put boundaries around time, because I'm in the physical, and say I go to sleep and wake up in 20 minutes, and it's another new day, but for me it's now then also. Even if I don't go to sleep, it's now. Even if I go to sleep, it's still now. And so now is all we got. And when we catch hold of that, concept, then we begin to live like now is all we got. Meaning everything we do has meaning. We see it in a bigger picture. We know that what comes to us is not just for us. It may very well be and resonate in us, but it's not just for us. How we deal with it, how we respond to it, also affects someone else. So all I got is the now. So that's another thing I want to say. All we have is now. Now what does that remind you of? If we say all we have is now. Is, was, always shall be?
Now and forever.
Well, if you flip that a bit, and you said that the now, which maybe is another word for the moment,
Exactly.
right? That's another way we hear it said all the time, live in the moment, etc.
That's
Then you start to explore, and if the moment, now, contains or is the essence of all that has been, is, and will be, which unites past, present, and future, that's the sort of truth of it. How you live in the now is an expression of what your level of understanding of that truth is.
and if you believe
So if
that,
your now is today, then that's it. That's the part you get.
and the other part is that if your now is today and you live in today, it automatically takes care of whatever other increments of quote unquote time you're on. It automatically does it. Shelby, you had something?
Yeah, living in anything but the now, anything but the moment, is essentially living in an illusion and at the same time not being alive. And you're also denying your own divinity, because what you're basically doing is you're living out certain scenarios or possibilities, again, ignoring the current moment. So is this not similar to, by living out of the now, serving other gods, so to speak? I'm not sure if you can see it. I probably have to.
I understand exactly what you're saying. You're saying we create, gotcha, Evelyn, we create other possibilities when we don't live in the now. And sometimes we let those other possibilities loom large. And when they loom larger than the now, the connection that we have to the Creator who was, is, ever will be, always there, the nowness of that, then whatever we give our attention and focus to, it becomes the God that we create.
Yeah, you're creating a totally different environment that is ignoring God. God is now. God is the moment. That is you. So by you doing that, you're denying the divinity. Yes, like I can see it, but as you were speaking, I'm starting to see it more clear as well. So is that not creating false gods?
Yes, sir. So we have done that all the time, have we not?
We do it all the time. I don't know about anyone else in there, but I'm certain that I've probably done it this morning at some point.
So I really want questions about the now and living in the moment, because it is I think a key concept for us who are connected to the self-existent one who was, is, and always shall be. there is no boundary of past, present, or future. It just is. And
Even if we look at it in different possibilities, we're going to take two scenarios. So let's say I am at this moment thinking about something in the future, and it's probably going to go one of two different ways. I could be really, really, really anticipating something that will happen later on today, and therefore I'm not here in the moment with all of you. And so essentially what I'm saying is that what I expect in the future is more important than now. This is irrelevant. Or I could be worried about something in the future, and by me being worried about whatever that thing is that's in the future, still yet again, I am exercising a tremendous amount of doubt and uncertainty. How is a superhero, I'm just using an example, is a superhero at the time that a superhero is actually denied itself and all of its strengths? At that moment, is it still a superhero? Does it still have the same mightiness or power that it would have on a normal basis? That's what we're doing when we worry about the future.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Catch that again, because I was not living in the now.
Sorry. I was saying that, you know which part you're talking about? How far back you're talking about?
Yeah. I'm talking about the superhero who, just because he's not, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, sorry, okay. I was saying that if a superhero, let's think about just any superhero, it doesn't matter. If that superhero is to doubt his strengths and his powers and his abilities of what it can actually do, at that particular time, is that superhero a superhero? Like, they're not exercising it, they have basically the potential, but at that moment, are they a superhero? Do they still have the same powers, or able to, I guess, exercise them? So the reason why I said that was to relate that back to ourselves, because basically what we're saying, if we're saying that we have the power that we have, we are who we are, we're connected to the universe the way that we're connected to the universe, but then we worry about the future,
right.
We're basically doubting and not really believing that. And even in us not believing that, even if you want to look at it from a more traditional standpoint, we're saying that we don't trust and believe in God either. Even if you're just talking about Jesus or God in heaven, we're saying we don't believe that. We're not convinced.
Right. I hear you. And I want to put that word on the board too, doubt, because that's maybe at some point in time we're going to come back to that. Certainty or assurance.
Please ask any questions, anyone, if I have not been clear or there's confusion or comments, please. I can't see anyone, I can't see your faces or anything.
That's okay. You need to learn not to see our faces but our essences, and that's through your third eye. Somebody just told me. Evelyn or somebody said something about the third eye.
It was Evelyn, I heard it a while ago.
Now, Evelyn?
I was, while you were talking earlier, I saw that the minute that I live out of the moment, I perceive that I have lack. But when I know, and when I live in the moment, there is no lack. I have everything I need. And God always gives. The Creator always lets, I'm always taken care of. But I just saw that when you were talking earlier about that.
So then now do you understand how the moment can be eternity?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we can really, really, really get caught up into that. I have a family member who would call me, and the family member would basically go over different scenarios before I would stop them and tell them that I was not participating in that day. But they would call me, and they would actually think about a certain scenario going bad, awry, and that will become their reality. And I would like to explain it. Do you not realize that this thing that you're thinking is the worst case scenario? You have made that your reality, like right now. now you feel as though it is true, and it's right now it's just one of millions and billions, an infinite number of possibilities. So essentially, like, how much less stress would you go through if you were not just making up these scenarios in your head and making them true?
Because the issue is, when we do that, we act on it as if it's true. The juices start flowing, the adrenaline starts pumping, all of those things start happening within our body because our body believes it's true. So that tells you the power of our creativity, even if it's negativity that we're creating. We put lots of emphasis on what that thing that we create. Can you see how that becomes your God? And as you just beautifully relayed that living in the now, I don't have any lack. It is what it is. What will be what it will be. What was. All I have is right now.
And is it also in those moments, as I glance out of the window, that you see an infinite number of things that you never knew existed? You see these small little things. You see these little, moments. I have no idea how to really explain them, but you really open yourself up. This is like trying to describe art right now.
I don't know why it just keeps.
No.
I don't know why working on cars keeps focusing. I just keep focusing on working on cars. That's what I keep seeing. Because a lot of times you do stuff and you don't see what you're working on. You can't see it, so you just have to go by feel and what you know. And a lot of times is whatever's taking place right here and now. And I'm wondering why the heck I keep on seeing cars, working on cars. But I don't know why it just keeps resonating to me with, like that.
There's a book that's called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance that I had to read in philosophy. Some of you have heard about it. And it talked about this man's inner journey in himself, just through having to work on motorcycles. So you connect with what quote unquote and physically makes sense to you first before you begin that inner journey. And so, yeah, I mean, if you put your hand under something and you don't see it, you know how it's supposed to feel. That's what we're trying to get to in terms of our spiritual nowness. We know what it's supposed to feel. We need, and you act on that. You expect to find that boat, and you expect to be able to whatever. I don't know anything about cars, but
well, I got you. I got what you said.
Same thing. It relates the same in the spiritual. Once we understand, you understand that I know about cars. I know about cars. I know how to take care of them. I know how to fix. And you have confidence. You have confidence, without a doubt, right? Without a doubt, you have assurance. You have certainty. I know that I know how to fix. That's where we are living in the now and understanding our purpose in the now.
I'm sorry for laughing.
Which means that it doesn't matter if a car came in and someone told you, I'm sorry, this car is made, it's a Lamborghini and it's made blah, blah, blah. Well, Lamborghinis are put together basically. It may be a little different, but it doesn't matter what it looks like. You have certainty that this is what I do. Question is, what do we do spiritually? What do we do? What are we supposed to be doing?
Creating?
And then what are we creating?
I don't.
We're every single day.
If we're supposed to be, in a sense, like dropping our opinions, being like an open book, letting the energy flow through us, we're creating whatever comes our way, basically.
Oh, well, I was with you till you said whatever comes your way.
I mean,
In other words, you
help me out.
you don't try to put boundaries around it. It's,
Right. I'm not trying to put boundaries around it, but
so what are we creating? We are creating those opportunities of experiencing the beginning again and again and again and again and again.
reverse.
Beginning again and again and again and again. And it may take a while for that to sink in, so I'm not going to go into detail about that again, but as we talk, we may flip back to that as a, okay, that's what I mean. Like Evelyn said, I have no lack when I live in the now. In the beginning, there is no lack because whatever is out there is you and you are it. So you have everything you need if it's a part of you.
So are we creating the beginning and beginning then, irregardless of, based upon the opportunity that comes?
We are supposed to not try to box or put, yes. Short version, yes.
Okay, so
Okay, repeat that again.
you
If
getting?
she says we're not supposed to put boxes or anything,
Right.
and we're creating the beginning of ending, even though we don't know, you can't put a title on the beginning and beginning again. Whatever flows past you, today Evelyn decides to company against the head, I'm going to create a beginning from that opportunity.
Everything is
As opposed to try to put a box around and say, oh my
You
gosh,
can
she bumped
resist
me,
the
I'm gonna-"
urge to
Yeah.
plop her back.
Right.
By
Whatever it
resisting the
was-
urge to plop her back, you create space for wisdom to come in and say, wonder why Ellen did that. Something must be going on with her. Rather than reacting immediately, it allows for possibilities. Truth opens up, and you don't see things one way. She had no business popping me on my head. I don't let my children walk over me like, all the stuff we try to create.
And wouldn't that be considered as a beginning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every
Or like
single
when I brought
time.
the card
Yes.
to you, and I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't have a box around the fact that you didn't have your own shop. We didn't have set parameters how you're supposed to pay. Whatever that opportunity brought, it flowed through. And we kept it moving.
And the opportunities are made, and how to say this in words. We dictate things, we change things, the nature of things. You can do that without even moving. You can essentially be completely paralyzed with your body and do those things because depending on how you react to Evelyn in your heart, completely changes the whole dynamics of that particular situation.
It's like fear. Richard explained a couple of weeks ago. Like in that moment of fear, we have a choice whether we're going to go with the fear or we're going to decide.
And you set the precedence for so much when you do that. That's you actually creating.
You remember last time Pastor talked about the method of moving to the place of balance and wisdom. That's all we're talking about, but using examples, a couple examples today of that. He talked about, he's moving from a place of balance and wisdom so that we become the essence of beginning. That's what this is all about. Every single decision allows that opportunity to be that essence of beginning, depending on what we do with whatever presents itself. Okay, Richard, sorry.
Question, then we'll go away. So it's just that the more you drill into this, the more you have to really go slower and slower to try to get the wholeness of the language, the vocabulary you're using, right? So we can say glibly, live in the moment. Okay, that's cool, right? I put that in my car, my license plate, go through life. And then someone says, what do you mean by moment? And suddenly you're the centipede with a million legs and you fall all over yourself because you're, okay, so let's do this with create. So if we can create possibilities, and I would go back maybe in a weak parallel to the point about the superhero. I think maybe for me it's a little easier to think of a healer. Barbara's a healer. Well, is she? Or is she a person through her awareness or whatever is able to connect, channel? Now, if she's a healer, there's a certain danger and unfairness about that, because in a particular moment,
It's a
maybe there's
label
no
then.
connection.
Yeah,
So suddenly she's a junk healer. She's no good anymore. And if you start dwelling on that, you're not going to let yourself be open, right?
that's right.
So
Doubt creeps in and
so-
everything else.
are you creating something by being the healer, or are you accessing something that's already there in the infinite, etc.? So that word create possibilities, it's the word create that
But your
intrigues
point is, and I think it's an excellent point as it relates to labeling the person as a healer, and that person buying into the label of being a healer, versus the creative power flowing through that individual, and that's what occurred as a result of that. It's two different things.
So is it wrong for him or anyone to say that you're a healer? When
People
you
will
say
say
buying
whatever
in-
they are. The question is, what do we receive?
Yeah. I wouldn't even-
That's again going back to the beginning. The question is, whatever comes to us, whether someone says, Matt, you're a mathematic genius, you're a mathematics genius, or you're a car genius. The question is, what do we do with that? And do we take it ourselves as a descriptor of us? At the same time, we're saying I'm living in the now, and I am connected to. I am part of the one who was, is, and ever shall be. There's no box around that, and so you don't allow that opportunity to go to your head and begin to define you from a physical perspective, because those labels are the things that begin to put layers and layers of physicality on top of us, and when we buy into that, it forces us. No, we choose to act on those labels, which means then that we are nowhere spiritual, nothing's flowing anymore, as Richard says.
Well, it's certainly limited or conditioned.
I don't understand.
You
I'm
put-
not
you
following.
be-
Well, let's say
if you
let's say it a
labeled me
different way.
that way,
Okay.
you're obliging me to actually look into myself further to understand how I receive that. I either ignore it, just fine, call me whatever you want, but it means nothing. It's just like people who really learn after a while that the accolades are just ephemeral. They're just here today, they're gone tomorrow. If you really think you're that superhuman being, now suddenly you have to perform at that level all the time. And most people who don't want to be celebrities of one sort or another, they try to avoid that. I can understand immediately why the Merlins of this world don't want you to know who they are. They want to go hide in some small little place to stay away from that pressure and somebody knocking at the door every 2 minutes, distracting them, so to speak, from whatever it is they feel they're, you know what I'm trying to say?
So you're saying that
So-
it's not right to embrace that, if that's who you are, is that what you're saying? It's
No,
not.
what I'm saying is,
I'm
it
not-
has
I'm
nothing
not-
to do with right.
You're judging,
It has
yeah.
to do with rightness. In other words, let's just say you, Evelyn. Someone says, oh, Evelyn, boy, she is a fantastic singer. And that may very well be.
Mhm.
But when Evelyn receives that as, yeah, I am a pretty good singer, it begins to box you into the label of, I'm a singer. And so what Richard is saying is that it forces you to look inside and say, yeah, I really am a good singer. And then you go from that to, I wonder why they don't have me leading a song in the choir. I mean, you can see how you can create,
So you're saying the minute I start boasting in what was said about
rather than just
me,
letting that flow
Oh,
through you
okay, now I
as,
got it.
yeah, that is one of the things that I am able to do as a result of being connected
right,
and living in the now,
okay,
rather than letting somebody define you as that.
I got you now, okay.
So it's different.
What I want to add to that is also like, let's say somebody says your only grandchildren or children that are born from your children, then you may say to yourself, well, nobody else will ever be, but there may be a child that's presented to you that you need to grandmother. In other words, you start putting these boxes so that you limit any other abilities you may have to share energy flow through.
That's not my real grandchild.
Yeah.
That wasn't.
I understand now.
Okay. So you see where your idea of the car carried us, Matt? Everything can be used to point us. We connect with where we are physically before we ever started this journey, did we not?
Right.
So, questions, comments, other comments? Okay. All right. We're talking about wisdom here, y'all. Did y'all know that? Even though we were back-ending it and we're talking all around it, all of this is about wisdom. Wisdom is knowing the Creator and knowing that we are the Creator or us. That doesn't mean that I can do. I am the Creator, and the Creator is me. And that's not saying I'm bigger than God. That's not what that says. I'm letting the sap of the Creator flow through me as Adam did. And when that sap of the Creator flows through me, whatever happens, happens. I might be able to sing. I might be able to fix that car when nobody else could. I might be able to find that problem, that IT problem that everybody else like. Probably we send Janice to Washington. She could fix what's going on. Yeah, exactly. We're not well paid.
That's so
Hilarious.
Man, don't listen to his
A lot of
now.
people to bring it.
That's why I said
All right,
don't
we're
listen.
doing it.
Anyway, but living in the now helps you keep it in perspective.
Yes.
And when you keep it in perspective, you have no lack.
Right.
That's meditation stuff, y'all.
But, I think one of the things that persists that's difficult to,
And I haven't even got to verse 1 of Proverbs yet.
but that's foundation.
Yeah.
You thought you were going somewhere?
I thought it was going to Proverbs 1. But this is Proverbs 1.
Well, you go and we'll just,
Yeah.
what we're gonna do.
You just do what you did.
I think that's why, to me, all of these explanations we have, even in the sort of Buddhist thing, sometimes it can be problematic, because this notion of individual, this notion of one yet many, kind of thing. Grain of sand but a beach. You know what I mean? It's really, we all say we understand all this stuff, kind of, but when you really think about it, it's that tension you have in you of, or if you die, your soul is somehow united with and yet continues to be independent in some sense. That whole notion of, if you open, if you, what am I trying to say? If you don't focus on self, but you just focus on, call it the portal, the connection, it is what it is. And then I think when you try to say, but I'm in there, or something, now you're starting to pull back from that sort of completeness that's just in that connection.
And if I
Because
were to change something you said, I wouldn't
Please
say
change it all.
grain of
Say
sand by
something
the beach. I would say grain of sand and the beach. So that you acknowledge that both grain of sand and beach. Because when you use the butt separates. See what I mean?
That's exactly what you mean. Actually, I see a lot of stuff. And I even see the analogy that was true on yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, but last Saturday, with the fishing pole and the fishing line, and how everything's connected. And he used the fishing pole and the fishing line connecting to the wobbler. But once you throw it out, that's being in the now. So, I don't know. I just see a lot of stuff going on in my head right now.
All right,
So-
that's meditation stuff, man. That's for you to take internally and
Yeah.
part of the internal journey. I'm going to go to Proverbs 1.
Oh, you gonna go there?
Are there any other questions about what we've said so far? Okay. Sheldon, I need you at Proverbs 1 because you're probably going to have an even different look-see than I did. And you would be the example of how you could look at this And if you're looking at it from the Aramaic perspective, it just has so many different openings in terms of meanings that resonate.
I'm there.
All right. Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. How many times can we just read that and just go on to the next part? We always do. I always do. I always did. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. Okay? All right. But let's go to verse 1. Let's look at Proverbs. What is proverb? What is a proverb? That's the way I had to try to dig this through. A proverb means a parable, the usual stuff we say, a poem, sentences of ethical wisdom. It means also like. And then if you even dig deeper, it means things like, the primitive root is to rule, to make, to have dominion, to reign, to have power. I didn't pull all of that out of Proverbs first. I just didn't even look at it, Proverbs. All right, so follow me here, and I'll go back again. Okay, so Proverbs has all those meanings. All right, and here's the second word, Solomon. Peaceful. It means, of course, the son of David, blah, 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 and Bathsheba. But if you go on, it's the Hebrew word shalom, which is peace. It means safe, well, happy, friendly, healthy, complete, sound. I'm just throwing words out there so you get the sense of the other meanings of what Solomon means. And then when we begin to look at it from the Aramaic perspective and link it to what Proverbs is, it opens up that verse. It unfolds it, causes it to blossom. Peace with God, especially in a covenant relationship, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Everybody with me so far? Let's look at the word son. It says son as a builder of the family name. You've heard that before. A builder of the family name. Let me see if there's anything else that just stood out at me. I think that was the anything children that stands out about son, other than the primitive root is to build, to obtain children.
You're going faster than me now because you were talking about how much is in every single word. I'm still on Solomon, but I'm going to son now.
Okay, but we're gonna come back to this because we're gonna put it all together, and then you're gonna tell me the other things that you see in that.
Okay, fair.
Okay, all right. So a builder of the family name. Let's look at the word David. And this is just cursory. This is just. David means from David. It's loving. Of course, he's the youngest son of Jesse. So it really means a beloved in a sense. It's also the same as beloved. Okay. So Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. Here we have that issue of reigning again. That's what king means. Ascend to a throne, to take counsel.
What does Israel mean again?
One who rules as God.
Okay, rule and ruler. Okay.
And then we have Israel. Let me see if that was right.
Yes, it's right.
He will rule as God. That's what it means.
Okay.
All right. All right. That's the first verse. Okay, Sheldon, this is my take on it. Guys, this is my take on it. You may even have a different take on it, which resonates in you based on all those possibilities. That's what truth is all about, opening up those possibilities. So my take on it is, wow, Proverbs, the beloved builder of the family name who rules as God has who rules as God has the power of completeness, prosperity, favor, and contentment. So the first verse, the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. The builder of the family name, who rules as God, has the power of completeness, prosperity. I don't necessarily mean favor and contentment. I'm living now, I have no lack. What's to be discontented about that? I'll give you a minute, Sheldon, to see if there's something else that pops up for you. But you see the difference there. That's what this proverb, that's what this is all about. It's about wisdom. And it's that understanding the beloved builder of the family name who rules as God has the power. It says if you rule as God, you live in the nowness of now. You live in the nowness. And you rule as God, you have the power of completeness, prosperity, contentment, favor, blah, blah, blah. Let you think about that a minute. That's heavy, because it sets the tone for everything else in Proverbs.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
All right.
We have stiffness in our household.
The superiority of peace and happiness, and which is perfection, is built upon and established by love. And when that is done, what reigns is God prevailing.
Is God what?
God prevailing.
Oh, okay.
And this is actually done, or the hidden wisdoms that lies in this particular book, then a person through this book explains the method of a person essentially being God. What I see a lot in this as well is the perfection of the realization of connectedness.
Is that God is an Elohim, or
Which
when he
God?
said what Sheldon just said?
Oh, Sheldon, which when you say
I'm saying God as an Elohim, as in individuals with, through their connectedness, actually being open enough to realize and see who they are, and to function in that space. And as they function in that space, then all of these things are realized.
Okay.
Because once you get to a point, for example, where you see yourself as connected, and I'm definitely not saying that I am there to the point that I'm about to explain, but once an individual gets to that point, then all of a sudden there is nothing but peace and perfection and happiness, because it's not possible for lack to even exist, to that person. So even the idea of lack is, of course, all of illusion that we buy into. So that's how that is. One of the ways that is possible. It is as if you all of a sudden see the entire picture without seeing some isolated incident or portion. Because lack is looking at some isolated portion and not looking at the whole.
Matt, did you have your hand up?
Soaking. Absorbing.
And the only way that you can actually look at the stuff to, well, I don't want to say the only way you can look at it, because of course it's not true, but in order to really see how these things are being said, and yes, these are coming from the Hebrew and the Aramaic, you have to look at this stuff conceptually and not physically. To see the fullness of it, or I'm not even going to claim to see the fullness of it, to come close or to see more of it. And that was the difference from people taking certain things from Jesus' messages. It depends on what determined the amount that they could get out of it was how conceptual they could see things. Well, that's one of the things anyway.
So if Proverbs is another way to look at it, it's so many different ways. If Proverbs is the power to reign, or to have power to reign, and we in essence are builders of the family name in a sense, because it is not the family name physically. It is the character of the Creator. And so we have the power to reign. Proverbs is the wisdom that gives us the power to reign as the creators that we are. Proverbs gives us that power. It's the wisdom that gives us that power. Remember what I said, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom? And so when we understand that part, the wisdom begins to flow. I think Sheldon mentioned the word doubt. If you remember Pastor talking about sin one time, and sin knocking at the door, in a sense, that's what doubt does. When we know that we know, and somebody says something, and we begin to doubt, that's another way for the knock on the door to come. And if we begin to entertain that, then we lose that. We begin to build and create other scenarios.
I want to take that somewhere right quick.
Go.
Okay. When you were talking about sin just now, so Romans 6:23. Yes, I had to look it up. No, I just not know what the scripture is. Just like that, everyone in there already thinking that. But Romans 6:23.
I don't know what to think about that
No. I don't want to.
I don't know why we keep doing that.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, all right.
Romans 6:23. For the I was there a little while earlier while you were talking.
Yeah.
For the wages of the sin is death, and the gift of God is life, aged during in Christ Jesus our Lord, which goes back to what we were talking about in the moment, and the sins of being an entanglement, and we disconnected sins to worry and thinking things were not perfect and perfection and things like that. So I wanted to tie that in regards to death and living in the moment, and living in a reality that is false, etc.
Gotcha. So there are consequences to not living the life of who we really are. We just thought the reality was the other part, but the reality is when we live the life, live in the moment of who we really are, we can skip some of those entanglements, those worries, those things that tie us. Because isn't that what worry does? It ties. I don't know where my next meal ties us up in knots. And again, it causes us to create possible scenarios as a result of that worry. Creditors are going to come and take everything I got, blah, 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 blah.
And I would actually venture to say that we probably worry, and I'm including myself, we probably worry about more things that never happen than things that do happen.
And I would say, thank God that they never have, because if we meditated on them long enough, they would. We would create it.
And again, that goes back, us not living in the moment. We worry because we're not living in that moment.
Exactly.
And we cause us entanglement. We cause ourselves to be entangled with worry. And that's why God says it's a sin. Well, we're not supposed to worry. That's not who we are. Can I say another thing too? When you guys were talking about Proverbs, I saw kingdom.
You saw what?
Kingdom. The word kingdom. And a king, kingdom is where the king rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we tie that in with what we just talked about?
Well, first of all, it's not the physical kingdom, right?
Right, exactly.
And so, so it must have to do with the spiritual or the kingdom of our thoughts, where our thoughts are.
Yes.
I am the queen of my thoughts. I am the king, queen of my thoughts. I can choose what I allow in my kingdom or what I don't. I have that power. I have that authority.
That's the rulership that we're talking about,
There you
right?
go. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I can allow it to come in, and I can then begin to attend to it and look at it and focus on it. And you know, or I can just not here. So that's one example. Anybody else got another? Okay. Alrighty, where are we? We're still on verse 1.
Yes. Would you mind, sorry,
Hmm?
distill again for me what verse 1 is saying? Is what I'm hearing, what I heard, but then I was not necessarily following carefully.
Okay. And let me preface that by saying that Sheldon said this a little bit differently than I did, but the underlying, if you listen to the underlying threads of it, it's the same. And you may even say a difference. But what I said was, this is the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. The beloved builder of the family name who rules as God has the power of completeness, prosperity, favor, and contentment. Evelyn heard the word kingdom. And that Proverbs here could mean the wisdom, which gives me the peace to reign over my kingdom and allow my thoughts to be what I would have them be rather than someone else or something like that. It's different, Richard. And so you might even go home, meditate on this, and it speaks to you in a little bit different way based on some of those meanings of the Aramaic words.
Proverbs
Gotcha.
1. So, is it just focus on the kingdom? That sums it up? And I got something to go along with that.
Let's see. Focus on the kingdom if you mean the kingdom has to do with access to your thoughts.
And remember, the kingdom of God is in you.
Right.
Is you.
Is you,
Is you, right.
not the body.
I asked if I was doing a drawing.
The wisdom of Solomon, the wisdom which gives me the peace and enables me to focus on reigning my kingdom in peace, in security, in contentment, in the now, in the moment. It's another way.
Right. See, I was doing a drawing, and I just saw focus, and I saw and I heard focus on the kingdom. The drawing is basically from being focused on the spiritual kingdom at hand. And
How do you put that in a drawing?
that
I'm
was
just
the tough
curious.
part.
I'm just curious.
The tough part, because I was asking the same question. The only thing I put was, is the crown that goes around your head.
So you had to tie it to something physical. See, that's all we have.
Okay.
It's hard to put things. It's hard to, which is what Sheldon was saying a minute ago, which could have been probably a half an hour ago. It's hard to explain spiritual things because once they come out in words, we bound them. We put them. We put boundaries around them. Richard.
I'll show you.
Just like you're deluding them.
That's why it's hard for some of us to be silent when we should be. Okay, the sense I get from this is just to keep it sort of straightforward in a sense, is that first verse is telling us of, and given the Aramaic definitions of the words, telling us of the reservoir and the richness of the reservoir from which the ensuing wisdom comes.
And
The
that
ensuing wisdom being verse 2 through
that's right. And we
okay,
can,
so it's just telling you where the following wisdom comes from, but it's not saying Solomon. If you go inside Solomon, what does that mean? What's the
But not only where it
quality?
comes from, that this is the wisdom that we use to allow us to reign or to govern our thoughts in the now. So we don't just know where it comes from, we have to connect with it and do something with
No,
it.
but it's, but in a way it's telling you, this is the source, and the Aramaic gives you a better understanding of the richness of what that reservoir, that source is, from which the following wisdoms come. And what's the point of wisdom? I mean, it's a guide, it's an understanding, it's, so,
And the
it's
other
just
point
telling
of
you,
it,
instead of a list of stuff,
Mhm.
this stuff actually comes from a source that gets it, that knows, that's, you know what I'm trying to say? Is that-
But the other point, remember we started with the thing that there is no inside and an outside for the Aramaic thought process. So not only am I accessing this well of wisdom, it's not a well of wisdom for me unless I live it. I can't just know it's there.
That to me is, okay, I'm not gonna argue with that, because that's how you allow yourself to be, to absorb, to be transformed, etc., by an understanding, or you get to the understanding you have in that phrase, and you're gonna get what you get. And some people get, you can say more, some people get it one way, some people get another, and Aramaic respects that, because you are where you are when you hear, which is why you can read Proverbs 50 times in your life, and the epiphanies are 50 times different. Hopefully bigger, better, deeper, wider each time, but who knows, right? So all that really does, though, is just telling you, I don't mean to belabor the point, but it's just, it sets up what to come is from,
I'm saying when you say all of that does, it even puts boundaries around that. When you say all that this does is that, it's that and more. It's almost like it's almost like saying when you live in the now, this well of nourishing wisdom, water, nutrition is you, and you are it.
That's it. It's telling me who I am. I am Solomon. That's what it's telling
You
me.
are peace. You are the beloved builder. You are. So, and I hear what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, I can't separate it from me. I am it, and it is me. Yeah, Matt.
Oh no, I'm just seeing the drawing I was drawing. That's like, and the change and the disconnect and focusing on, just seeing all that. And everything that everybody's saying, I'm like, I'm seeing how, I'm just seeing everything else going through my head.
How it's
Can
connected.
draw that?
Yeah, I got them.
Is that?
Yeah.
Is that it? Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, fall back. That's
There is no time.
I just don't say why.
Is this resonating though? The essence of what we're talking about.
yeah, it's just telling me who I am. I am Solomon. And
And you're David.
yeah, exactly.
And you're king and a queen. And you are one who rules as God rules.
okay, so that's what that's telling you. And what's the function of the bits and pieces that come out in the verses?
These are ways that I do that.
All right, you just
They're
turn-
me and I'm it.
So the first thing is the rubric's cube, is just turning the rubric's cube different ways.
Yeah. But still, the point I'm making is, we usually, even when from the Western perspective, we usually see the verse and we see ourselves. And what I'm trying to say is, the verse is, all of this is me, and I am, and it is, and I am it. From the Aramaic perspective, I cannot separate it. This is these rules that I live by, these rules, these things that I allow to reign. I can't just have them over here as the Ten Commandments or something on a piece of paper. If I am in pursuit of and pursuing the nowness of knowing I am my creator, my creator's me.
I think I'm gonna go home and watch the Book of Eli again, because it has a lot to do with what we're talking about.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna look at this joint again.
That of the Matrix.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the
I
book
am
was
the
just simply
essence of all
symbolic.
that is.
yeah.
I don't want to talk about anything else today. Sheldon, you got anything else you want to talk? Any other questions? Let's let that drive where we go from here. I'm not going to verse
Where
2.
does wind? What? Something's in wind.
I'm sorry?
What factor does wind play?
Wind,
Yes.
W-I-N-D.
Right.
Wind is breath, spirit. Yeah, you can look at the, I see you picturing that, channeling wind and breath of God. So spirit and breath, the breath of God is the same thing.
He was saying win is W-I-N.
D.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that right? W-A-N-D? I don't want to put words in.
The element, not the element.
Elements.
I'm seeing this in a couple of ways,
We don't.
but they're the same thing because they sort of dovetail.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sitting here trying to think of how this should apply to me. But anyway, and what I came up with is thinking about this: don't seek truth, just drop your opinion. But what I came up with is the wisdom of peace is ascribed to the beloved one whose character is that of the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can flip it around and say the peace of wisdom is ascribed to the beloved one whose character is that of the Creator. So they both sort of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can think
Or
about
the peace
it
of
as,
the Creator is
Yeah.
the peace of the beloved one.
or the peace of the Creator is the wisdom that you get because your character is that of the Creator. So all of those things just kind of dovetail.
And it's a kind of peace that makes whole. And there were some other things about making peace with that made me think about making peace with who you are.
Yeah, peace does make you whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Complete. Mm-hmm.
So what's that, what do I want to call it, prayer that's usually said at the end in conventional church? Peace that passeth all understanding.
Keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. It's basically saying the same
Yeah,
thing.
that's, but I just,
Hearts and minds are what rules you, but you rule it. Okay, well, that's your homework for this week. Go ahead, go and let us speak to you where you are. And you don't have to tell anybody what it says, as long as it resonates with you. And think about the concept of nothing is ever separate. Concept of all we have is now, and what this verse says to you.
And also, I wanted to say something right quick.
Yeah, you said.
Okay, how these verses work and how connected work, it works hand in hand. So each one of these scriptures and the books, etc., and everything we actually go through is more like, which we rarely look at it in this way, but it's more like a dance or a song. That is how even a moment is looked upon. It's not that you're actually trying. What makes a song or a dance great is not the ending of it, is not one certain part of it. It is all of it is in its entirety. one dances and just dances for one particular moment of it. Same thing with a song. It's a collection of it. It is continuously flowing, and all of it combined is what makes it what it is.
Gotcha.
Sheldon, did you just read the Dancing Woolly Masters?
No, I never heard of that.
Google it.
The Dancing Woolly Masters.
Not woolly, woo, W-U, next word L-I, Masters.
Wooling.
Woolly.
Okay.
I think it's Gary, it's Gary Zukov, it's somebody else. It came out in the 60s or early 70s. But anyway, it's all a dance. It's all, what that makes me think of too is why in Judaism, why in Islam, maybe more so than Christianity, you have people doing this at the Wailing Wall. The verses of the Quran are to be sung, not said. But I mean, I'm just touching on, to me, a sort of sense of connection for how the truths themselves, perhaps you allow them to resonate more and then when you feel wide open and full of joy, what are you usually doing?
Sing,
Yeah.
laugh.
You're not usually reciting scripture, right? You're usually singing something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there is a channel there, I think.
You know, we are truly connected because before you mentioned the word dancing, it
Well,
had come,
dancing's not-
it was me. I mean, I was just thinking about the word dancing, and I was going to ask, what does dancing mean? To dance, or to just dance?
You're being in the moment. That's what you're doing when you're dancing. That's the exercise of being in the moment. So
Okay.
what all the things that we've talked about as far as living in the moment and what we so rarely do in real life, that is when we're exercising in that.
Yes.
I'm changing my profession.
And so the enjoyment that we get out of that is the same exact enjoyment that we should get in life. It's the same enjoyment that this book is starting to tell us about. It's the same thing we've been pretty much talking about all day. It's just that we don't really experience it that often. But listening to music or dancing is a great example of us actually experiencing that.
But it's not just listening, Sheldon, it's participating.
Yeah, I mean, just
It's participating and then letting it come out of you. It's a fundamental expression.
That person is right there in that moment what's going on. So it's just an exercise of it. So whatever you're doing and how you enjoy it, you're closer to being in the now.
It's almost like being one with it.
Yes.
And then,
So yeah, no, yeah. So please, yeah, by no means, it's so much more than what I'm actually explaining, because just the fact that I'm trying to explain it, I've already failed, because I could never do that.
You didn't fail.
Yes.
What's
yes.
wrong with you this
When you try to explain things like this, and you try to
But it's not failing, because what you do is you spark something in someone else.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yes.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
correct. You're correct.
but I think this is what I've always felt, and I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, something that in the Montessori concept of development, the arts and music and dance are very important.
Yeah.
It's a form of self-expression, it's a form of expansion of self-concept. Because what do you do when you're really dancing? You forgot, where am I? Whoops, sorry. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody's laughing at you from the sitting around the bar, or whatever it is, wherever you're dancing, and then if they're all your friends, everybody laughs positively, if not, who knows. But when you're out there, you're out there.
Yes.
But
Right?
more fundamentally, the dancing is an expression of the way creation occurred, because things have different waveforms when they're created. Their resonance is different. It's almost like notes. So it's a physical expression of that oneness of creation. Although creation is diverse, meaning you could get the different notes, it all it all is one as well. And don't think about that logically.
But just
And the
think,
symphony of it is when it all flows. That's the oneness of it all, and it touches you, and you have tears flowing and you're not sad, or you have joy when you didn't have it when it started. Richard?
No, so I mean, just, and I don't know yet whether it makes any difference whether you prefer to sing or dance, but one would seem to be using more of your physical attributes, and I'm not even talking about how you dance.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Harry Belafonte once said, in Cuba, no one cares how good you are. They just expect you to get out there and dance, because then they know you're alive.
Mm-hmm.
And here in the United States, oh no, I can't go out there, I'm not good enough. Hey, I'm a white Episcopalian, you know what, I never danced like you all, right? Right? And thanks for those people who crossed over and said, oh yes, you can. But what I'm, you know what I'm trying to say, it's just,
Yes,
and I know what you do, you run around the house in your underwear and you dance when there's nobody there, come on, and you sing, so what's all that about? Joy. So, it's something real, and yet we cut it off in school and things like that, which I think is just dead wrong.
Oh, Richard.
Well, no, what was the name of that group? Oh, never mind.
Well, we've been talking about, all of that is an example of the essence of the Creator and how it manifests in this physical realm where we find ourselves when we aren't focusing on who we really are. I am the song, I am the dance. That's the point he's made. You got anything else, Sheldon?
No, ma'am.
That's all I got to say about that today. Anybody got anything else?
But it's just interesting, because that is very much in physics,
What is?
the notion of a dance. Particles, how they move. And you go look that up, physics, dance. There's books all over the place.
We agree with you.
So I just,
We agree with you before the physics part.
okay.
He has a lot to say.
In terms of the
We
way
all
creation
do.
moves. All right, guys, thank you very much for your attention. Come with your thoughts and your questions next week. I don't know who's going to teach next week, Sheldon, you?